Morning, good afternoon. This is Shirley here with Spirit of Matter in the rays of the full moon going into the decreasing moon in Aries, so Mars ruled moon on a Mars night. And this is the hour of the sun, actually. So Mars is here in the sixth house and talking about the sixth house of health. Um, and applying the conjunct Ketu, okay, as separating from an opposition to Chiron, Sun 6 degrees Libra, Venus on the 22nd degree. She's ruling both Mars and the Sun, and the Ascendant. And this Venus is in the fifth house. So, fifth house? No, sorry, fourth house. Whole sign, the fourth house. So Venus is at home in Leo, and the moon in 10 degrees Aries, slowly applying the conjunct Chiron. So we get the time to speak about Mars as the ruler of Rahu and Chiron and Aries before the moon tightly conjuncts Chiron that is ruled by Mars. And again, this is a time to take you 18 years back into life and kind of think of the significations of Mars. So I'm going to begin with a bit of blessings for Mars, the Sun, and Venus, the ruler. And so for Mars blessings, especially on the decreasing moon, may people be able to release excess energy they've been holding, excess drive they've been holding, and even excess passion. Passion is great. Excess passion leads you to be kind of like enslaved by your passion is no longer. And so for people to be able to release this excess in ways that are effective and healing and civil, okay? So for us to be able to recover, rejuvenate, and regenerate our blood flow, okay, to have healthy blood flow, healthy circulation of blood flow. As for head and identity, so for us to be able to define ourselves and have our self-definition genuinely supporting our well-being. Okay. Let go of self-definitions that are no longer assisting our well-being. So for the sun, and here on the decreasing moon and sun in Libra, the sun is ruling our hearts and our eyes. So for us to release those perspectives and attachments that make it difficult for us to see, okay, for us to have clear vision and release what's no longer serving that clear vision, clear and open heart, clear and to be able to wear our heart on our sleeve and shine and radiate and release any excess dependency on others' attention or approval of our shine. Okay, we all need approval, we all need to be validated, admired, and worshipped to a certain extent, and yet we want to also stay centered and connected to that ever present light that is the sun. It's an illusion for the sun, separated from Neptune here. It's an illusion for the sun to view itself in a way that needs anything external to approve it, because it's the center of gravity for the galaxy, basically. Not for Jupiter. Jupiter does not revolve around the sun, but but that's also the lightweight of it. It's that you're not all that center of everything as much as you thought, and that's not a bad thing. Okay, so to be able to center in our shine and let go of excess regarding this. And for Venus, the ruler of Mars and the Sun, my blessing is Venus is on the 22nd degree here. And so my blessing is for us to release circumstances and people and worldviews that present us with lethal connections. It's the 22nd degree, okay? So to release those, and to release our voice, not in the sense of giving up our voice, but actually releasing voice from the vocal cords. Okay, singing is an act of relaxation in as much as an act of controlled air. So for our voices to be well received, for us to be able to relax into voicing ourselves by releasing all those lethal connections that we have been having in our life, and releasing any lethal situations for women, for sisters, and for people. And now, having finished this honorings and blessings, I'm getting to the topic of this episode, and this is more addressing Mars as the ruler of Rahu, and kind of taking you back 18 years ago. So I want you to kind of stop the video when you're listening to the recording and think back 18 years ago. Okay, it was around 2004, 2005, the beginning of 2006. And what happened for you in these years in relation to Mars? So drive, blood flow and blood circulation, the penis, in penetration, assertion of your boundaries, passion, whether excess or lack of passion, direction in life, a sense of direction, having a goal and defining a goal, okay, dreaming and going after what you desire. And also think about where Aries and Scorpio, what houses were activated in your chart, and what houses were affected and what houses were affecting this Mars. So you can stop the video now and basically grab yourself a notebook, grab yourself a pen, and start writing or recording what did you encounter in relation to Mars. And after you've done this exercise, I can explain why I'm saying this, because at that time when Rahu was in Aries, again, as it is now, you were dealing with a new perspective on Mars. So 18 years ago, you had shaped your perspective on Mars, whether you were facing unconscious ideas through a crisis, whether you were revolutionizing something, or whether you were gaining a new drive and passion, or dealing with the wound that you have around this. Okay, Chiron was not in Aries. Now we do have Chiron which is not simple on a mundane level. It's giving us a lot of 50 years timestamps on mundane events. But on a personal level, you have a chance to deal and tend to any wounding around Mars. And so you want to think back to 2004, 2005, and a little bit of 2006, and kind of try to regain the information, try to regain your understanding, because you definitely were having rejuvenation, either around your goals, something that you did, sexuality, okay, the act of penetration, sexuality. If you were, if you had gender affirming hormonal treatments or surgeries, then perhaps you were considering that back then, or perhaps you were transitioning, or you're either rethinking that, or something new happens in this area. And so for Mars, there is a drive that serves us in some places and can be a difficulty in other places. Mars is heading headstrong. It has a goal, okay? And in Aries, it jumps through. You think about something, you do it, you apply it immediately and almost impulsively. And you just learn along the way, you innovate along the way, you pave your own path. Aries is about the road not taken. Not that you didn't take the road, but you are making a road for yourself in that area, wherever that area is in your life. It's the road, it's not the road less traveled by, it's the road not taken. Simply put, you are paving a path. And wherever that is, whether it's your ascendant, you need to see where your natal Mars is, what's Mars transiting, whether it's, so your ascendant is your life path. You basically are asserting yourself in a way that has never been done before, quite like it. In the second house, it's how you make money and how you spend money. You're innovating there. Okay, fellow Pisces ascendants, we can't rely on financial advisors to give us advice on how to save money, how to make money. Okay, if you have a business, you can't rely on somebody to tell you how to market yourself. Okay, you have to do it by you, because there's just something that's not going to work unless you do you there, and you have to pave your path there. You can't take a jobby job. Okay, I nearly died trying to do the 9 to 5. I nearly died. Okay, if it's your third house, and it's also true to expenses. Like I said, you can't have, it's not the usual fiscal advice. You're going to have to find your way and innovate into managing your expenses. Okay, it's going to be your way. It's not going to work for others necessarily. Or maybe it does, but you invent it. Everything in third house. So it is communication, whether it's running a business, whether it's your daily routines like vlogging, transportation. You could be innovative there. But things are just not going to work for you the way they work for other people. You came here to bring something new. And then, you know, there are the 12 houses and so on and so forth. So Mars quality sets a goal and begins to apply and learns along the way. One of the things, if we go backwards, that can set a fire under Mars, because Mars is also Scorpionic, it's also fixed. It's not just ruling Aries, also ruling Scorpio. Fixed, passionate, deep, thorough. Whichever sign it is, it's also ruling that Scorpio house. So when Mars does Mars, it has the qualities that we have perhaps 18 years ago been looking up to, which is persistence, almost to obsession, not taking no for an answer. And you think about Aries. Okay, Aries is you bring something new to the world. Your strategy is blue ocean. It means people have not consumed this product before. People have not settled on this land before. Okay, and what you hear around you is it's not going to happen. It's not going to, and it's not people telling you that to discourage you. They're just looking at it and they never heard of it. And anybody that tried to do something like that, like at first you just see people who didn't make it. Okay, so it's not that they're being bad or they're coming against you. They're like, look, it's not like there's no way it's going to happen. And you're not even at the position where you tell them, watch me, because you still didn't do it. And yet you push forward, you impulsively apply on. So that quality of not taking, like, no is not an option, no is not an answer. Ultimately, you have, if somebody points you to a fork in the road, you say, you go left, you go right, you cut right through and you go straight, okay? This is a necessity of Mars in Aries. It's a necessity of Mars in Aries. It breaks through anything, any difficulty. And so the quality of no is not an answer is fabulous when you come to pave your own path in life. It's a bit more difficult when you try to have sex. And there Mars has to operate completely differently. Childlike curiosity is okay. We have to have boundaries. You have to make sure there's willing consent and make sure there's willing consent in you. And this is something you really need to understand about the Mars energy, regardless of what you have between your legs, regardless of how you define your gender. Mars is an energy. And when Mars rules Aries and when Mars operates to pave you a path in your life, wherever your Mars is not asking if you're ready for it. Is the baby ready to be born? How can you be ready to something you have no idea what's going to be? You just do it. And so there is no readiness in your own body for what you're doing. And ask many people who did something new, who brought something new, okay? And tell them, if you knew what you're actually doing, would you be doing this? You gotta tell hell no. If I have been conscious, hell no. This is crazy. This is okay. I have second house and Mercury there. I wrote a satire in the being a Me Too veteran. Okay. I basically did not go to court, did not go to the internal system of bringing some justice. I went deep into the depths of the core of as much as I could pull through of the source of my trauma and what could possibly have been the reason that this happened to me on a personal, structural, and intergenerational level. And whoop, I wrote a satire about it on Facebook. Okay? This is Aries. I was not ready for this. Nobody asked me what was the satire about, having autonomy of our body and so on. And I laugh about it till this day, but it's also quite difficult, okay? It's quite challenging because the Mars that operates to pave your path, you are not, like, it doesn't ask if you're ready. It doesn't ask you if you're ready to do anything big. How do babies swim? They get put in the water and they start to swim. If this is Mars in Aries. How are babies born? Mine have sex and you get contractions and it's like, okay, move out. Set them up. On your way. You don't know where the heck you're going. You're going through the birth canal there into this, full of light. So maybe you're born in the water or something more pleasant like that. But there's nothing that can prepare you to this. Okay, this is the breakthrough into another situation. This is a very important quality of Mars that doesn't ask you for anything. It's like, this is your goal. This is where you want to go. Do it. And you do it. It's scary as hell, but also exciting and innovative and rejuvenating. And on your way, you meet, you don't take no for an answer. If you need, you have a goal, let's say, have an enterprise. You ask for funding, they say no. You ask the third one, they say no. You ask the fourth one, they say no. Eventually, like, I'm not taking no for an answer. This thing has to happen. But the same quality that is so essential to building the new and paving the path and paving the road not previously taken, that is Aries, to sex, intimacy, relationship, is simply lethal. It's simply lethal. Because the qualities to have sex is actually Venusian. You have to be in your body. You have to be embodied. What's embodied? What's embodied? So it requires of you a certain state of being that is antithetical to the Mars that operates when you're striking on something, when you're striking on your path. And so the risk runs through is that you're going to try to put that innovative Mars on a relationship, and even with the best intents, murder somebody's soul, literally. That's the wound of Mars. So the Mars that rules Aries cannot afford to ask for permission to be. Okay? But the Mars that enters Venus cannot afford to not do so when she's willingly consenting and sucking him in. Okay? It's a different Mars. Vedic traditions say Mars matures at 28. What does it mean? That you can't have sex before 28, darling. You're not mature, you're not ready, you're gonna hurt the vagina, you're gonna put trauma. If you have a penis. But then another take on this would be, but how do you mature if you don't try? And now we're already getting into the gray zone of between the Mars that doesn't take no for an answer, the Mars that tries again, the Mars that paves the path, the Mars that creates something that has never been there before previously, to the Mars that is present, is embodied, is waiting to be sucked in, to be invited. And this is a Mars issue, okay? This is a Mars issue, not a Mars Venus issue. This is a Mars issue. There is such a wide spectrum under which this energy of Mars operates as Mars that takes maturity. Nobody ever tells us that. Nobody ever talks to us about this. We know that rape is wrong. If we grew up in there, if we are lucky enough, to rape someone is wrong, but also to give up on your goals is wrong. To not take no for an answer when you're doing, funding for your, I don't know, help the homeless fund. So this is right. Okay, to not take no for an answer when you're hitting on your goal is wrong. But then some women will tell you, oh, I liked it that he tried and he tried and he tried, and then eventually I gave in. Okay, while other women would feel triggered and push you out. And this is a very tender spectrum that we're not discussing of the operation of Mars. And there can be many wounding around us, not only by rejects, but also by downright accusations, misunderstandings, frustration, and actual violence that happens. Um, Rahu Mars ruled tends to the Mars in Aries. Rahu Mars ruled in Aries tends to the Mars that applies one notion of the energy of Mars in the wrong place. And so this is the kind of people where they may have violated boundaries of people, even sexually. And that was a lot to do with the fact that they didn't understand that that's not what's needed, that it's not what's working, and that's harmful. It's not the insidious, like, psycho, intentional, it's the child that tries to learn to pave the path. It's kind of like, I want to have sex. How do you do it? You try like this, you try like that. And then you murder the soul on the road, and kind of like, okay, what the fuck am I going to do now? Like, how the fuck am I dealing with that? And you don't know. Okay? Because Mars at Aries has no ready. A baby has no ready. It's not like, I'm ready to be born. Like, there are contractions that kick you out of there and put you in another realm. Of course, there can be innovative, release of the traumas of birthing and orgasmic birthing, and all these things that are surrounding this process. That being said, there are certain phases where you just go for it. You don't ask yourself, am I ready for it? You go for it because you just pave the path. You just do it. You just close that deal, and that deal is $250 million of an island that you're going to build a community on. And you got the option. You seal the deal. You just did it. Okay, nothing can prepare you for it. You don't ask yourself, am I ready for it? You do it, and then you talk about this later. You do it, then you crash down to your sofa and kind of like, what, how do I even, where do I go from here? And that's a part of this energy. And there are certain intimate phases of relationship progress, taking the relationship into another direction, another step in the relationship, that are also for people who reside together, however impractical it is to do in this era, for people who reside together, for that there's nothing that can prepare you to do so. Then while you're at it, you're like, oh my god, they care about where I put my socks when I take them off. They're like, I'm dead tired. They're talking to me about collecting my hair in the bath. I don't remember that I took a bath. Okay, there's like all these little things, and that inherent quality of Mars that's like it's not asking you, am I ready? It just jumps and starts swimming, is very good for business, for entrepreneurship, for moving in together, for staying in together. And for when needed before divorcing, for splitting out. Okay, Mars is also severing ties. Okay, for not staying in a place that is no longer serving you both. Okay, to move, to have a direction to life. Um, and also for courting. In many cases, like who's never been there before. And yet, there's this other energy. There's this other waiting to be invited that when you integrate is also good for business. And then how do you, when you talk about something new, something innovative, how do you reach a point where you're, how do you get invited into the new? You're sucked in by something. If you think about your desire, and your desire of innovation is kind of like the cosmos or nature, kind of like tantrically sucking you in, telling you, I want you to go that way. And you say, I have an idea. Okay? Mama Nature has an idea. You've been chosen to execute. Rao in this sign brings this great striving. It amplifies the Mars qualities, all of them together. All of them together. And then there's this Chiron there. And Chiron has been here 50 years ago. So Chiron has been in Aries for a while now. But if you talk about this point in time, 50 years ago, we're talking about the 70s, okay, 1973. 1970, 1973. That's the 50s. So we could think about the 50s as growing from the Second World War, of growing into consumer market, growing into a different form of capitalism than the settlement in the United States capitalism. Okay, it's a more corporal capitalism, but it's also coming from the people, the desire to buy that new TV, that new electric device, that new car, the desire to, hey, I'm going to drive this car for 3 years rather than for 30 years. And the products that begin to basically pollute the earth, but also this rejuvenation. Actually, I'm going to buy a dress every other weekend rather than I'm going to buy this dress, have it tailored for me and use it for years and years and years. It's the Chiron of the new, and also the human desire to rejuvenate, to have that new. Okay, you have to understand that this was embraced by people. Everybody wanted to see a TV in color. Everybody wanted to have their own car. Everybody wanted to have their own recording device or their own camera. And eventually, we will go up to the 80s. Everybody wanted to have their own computer. So now we're gonna have another such surge. And this is something very interesting that happens because in the context of time, Pluto is heading towards Aquarius, is heading towards the workers of working class of Earth unite, and the let's have a kibbutz, let's have a settlement, a community, Okay, hearing people wanting to have community houses, and I'm like, darling, this is a ghetto. But here, this Chiron in Aries is kind of reminding us of this very humane, individualistic emphasis on, I want to have a consumer culture. You know, now we say, oh, consumer culture is bad, it's polluting, it's this and that. But isn't it nice that you can buy a shirt from China and you get it at the doorway, and if it's not your size, you can donate it to someone and just try another shirt? Like, isn't this nice? Wouldn't it be nice if like people didn't have to pay for that with, being slaves? Oh, there can be, machines that do that. Okay. Okay, this is it's the childlike curiosity that just wants to expand and experience and penetrate new markets and penetrate in general. Again, having this, but also not just penetrate another body, but another soul, another experience, another world. Okay, when a baby comes to the world, you get a penetrate through the canal, and the head of the baby comes out, and it's in the world. Okay, we want to be born again. We want to be born again. We want to discover a whole new world. We want to create a whole new world, to birth a whole new world, to bring in the new. That our psyche is striving for it. So while Pluto is in this Saturn sign, it's like, wasn't it wonderful when people lived in tribal society and it takes a village to raise a child? Then comes this Chiron in Aries and this, they mark their skin to see that they are from this tribe and not that tribe, so they wouldn't die in the tribal wars. And like, I can continue on and on and on and just get people more offended. But this is the spirit of the times. And so with Chiron in Aries, we want to consume. Think about the after COVID traveling boom. Hotels fully booked. Everybody going to restaurants. Everybody wanting to meet in person. Even some of the most introverts people wanting to meet in person. And it had a lot of I have seen people with masks that usually have breathing issues. And I'm like, you're wearing a mask? Like, you're kidding me. When you no longer need it. You're wearing, you're masking yourself. And you don't do this for health reasons. They do this because, I haven't been to the dentist for a while, or, I can just pull up this mask and then just go, kind of like 2 meters. And you get people that are, how should I say, Jupiterian in their desire for air and cannot stand restriction on the air. They're like putting on the mask and that, hiding behind this mask, not for health reasons. Like, they're not doing it for health reasons. And I'm like, this is crazy. And so Chiron in Aries, it's a wound because there is a desire for liberation, for individualistic, childlike curiosity. I want this. I want to get my hand on this. And you're going to see people that have been living like the prince that sold his Ferrari, and now they want to get a jet plane. Okay? Now they want to get a new car. Now they want to get all the big yachts. Okay? And you try to talk some sense into this desire, but they don't speak sense. It's like, okay, I've been restricting myself for way too long. Now they want to do something. Okay? And so this is here another quality of Aries, Mars. It's not just the I want to get laid. I want to get lucky. I want to get a job, I want to get this promotion, which is going to be for many people, it's going to be like this. Okay, but it's also the Mars of I want this new candy, I want this new car, I want to develop a company that I don't know, reinvents the market in a spacecraft. Okay, and it doesn't matter how detached from ordinary reality it is. It's kind of almost, Rahu with its wanting to devour the world kind of leads us into the Neptune in Aries even. And like you're not going to be able to talk sense to it. It's kind of like the midlife crisis. It's like, I need my sport car, but we ain't got nothing to eat. I need my sport car, and here's the Ferrari. It's like, but this is a lot of depth. I need my Ferrari. I need my Ferrari. Okay? And that is also part of life. And so with Rahu in Mars sign and in the Aries Mars sign, people are going to have childlike desires. They're going to have childlike desires. And the way they go after these desires is also applying sometimes that energy of Mars in this context. And sometimes you create really innovative stuff around that. And sometimes there are pitfalls. So this whole concept of fuck it, I want it. And that can be also shaken up the values, because the other side, Ketu, is values that we have. So let's say we talk about the value of fair trade, which is a very Libra value. And Rahu Mars is kind of like, oh, fuck it, I want that necklace. And that's the humor of it. But it's also something that's gonna happen. Oh, fuck it, I want to have this, or you think about balanced eating, balanced diet, like, oh, fuck it, I want that steak. I want that steak. Oh, fuck it, I want it. And in the best way of the world, it can be the, oh, fuck it, I want it. And that, oh, fuck it, I want it is a liberating, rejuvenating, new something that you really are happy with. Rahu can be over desirous because it's never been there. Okay, Rahu is where we've never been. Of course, this Rahu has been there 18 years ago. But Rahu is where like we never been there before. Okay? And when you arrive, you're both happy and sometimes disillusioned a bit. It's like I really wanted that. I saw an Instagram of financial advisor. I think she's a financial coach. And she talked about the Mini Cooper. She said, I always wanted a Mini Cooper. And I got me a Mini Cooper. And I was like, it was not what I wanted. And I actually wanted a Lexus. Okay, fine. Go get yourself a Lexus. So Rahu can be in the sense of there is this great desire to go there. You have never been there. You don't know what it's like. And then you're there. Some things you like, some things you're like, okay. But you're fine. You're rediscovering your desires. And in Aries, all of that is accentuated. It's kind of like on steroids. Because Aries is about that sense of discovery. Or what would it be like to, and then you discover what it's like. So if you go back 18 years ago, then you can get a sense of where it's heading. Because now you are revisiting this point. Now you are revisiting the point of basically being in the right time with the right people, with the right places. Okay, the right thing is also Mars. Um, Making the right purchases or even having the right values. And I experienced what it's like to be that person so that you get to decide from within this place, what do I want to do now? And Chiron is tending to that wound. And if you take that wound 50 years ago, it is that wound of idealizing capitalism, the consumerism. If you think it's going to be the devaluation of the disillusionment from consumerism, I think this is more likely to happen with the Neptune and the co-presence of a Neptune. I think Neptune is still going to be co-present with Chiron. Not sure about this. But here it's actually going to be revisiting the great consumerist desires. If I think about places like China, like the BRICS, okay, Iran got accepted to the BRICS, it got invited to the BRICS, okay. Imagine what it's like for Iranian people to not have access because of the sanctions that were put on them, to not have an access to consumerism. Should you ask an Iranian, what would you first like to do? It's like, you've kicked out America from your, central bank system. What do you want to do? I want to get a Cadillac. You want to avenge the Americans? No, I just always wanted what would it be like to drive a Cadillac? Okay, and it's going to be just like that. Or you ask the BRICS even, okay, and all the countries within the BRICS. Saudi Arabia. Okay, what would you like to have? I want to dress like a woman and perform a karaoke show. I know I'm not supposed to, but okay. Well, before that, you would hear oh, in America, people dress like drag show and go to schools. This is so, how do they do that? This is so, and then, they get this affluence. It's like, you kicked America. You became as big as America. What do you want to do? I want to dress like a woman. I'm going to sing happy birthday for the children of August in December. Okay? Because a lot of people have been that constrained. And perhaps it's actually an optimistic thing in a way. Because it's reminding, you think about the people of China, and we have all these threats of the social credit score. You can't buy you think about Chinese people can't buy at the grocery store, at the supermarket, if they don't show their digital ID, and if they're not eligible to social credit score. What's going to happen when they're going to be releasing America? What are people going to want to do? I want to get an ice cream without an ID. What do you say about that? I want to get an ice cream. I want to go to McDonald's. But they closed the branches. I'm going to open up a new McDonald's in China. We're going to have these fat burgers and these potatoes that everybody demonstrated against, and even the farmers said, but I want to have these potatoes. Okay, so you think about the McDonald's at the Kremlin, and that embracing of an economy that is very capitalistic, but in a visceral, primal way. Okay, I want to have a Big Mac, a double royal with the double cheese and the double this and the double that. Okay, when I was working in McDonald's, actually, right before that time when I consider that, it was actually Rowing Venus. But I remember these American people, it was in Israel, it was the American women, and there were a couple of American women that would always order double Mac Royal, extra size with a Diet Coke, and they pronounced it cock. And they were American. They pronounced, I swear, they said a Diet Cock. And I was like, sure, like whatever, you know, I'm not judging. And I just think about this from this embracing the, 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 the capitalist primal desire for joy and the Diet Cock. Okay. That's, it was Rowing Venus there. I think so. It was before Ra went into Mars. But this to me is the symbol of embracing the individualistic, excessive desire. And so there's genuinely going to be a lot of stuff like that. And Chiron, Chiron doesn't have to be serious. So Chiron can definitely be a brighter lighter. I remember when I did a talk about how important is the value of willing consent and all of my philosophy and how it balances overpopulation and blah, blah, blah. And I had Lizzie there. I was giving her food and I was petting her and I was like, oh my God, I managed to pet her and she didn't recoil. All the while I'm speaking in an hour about willing consent. And it's just one of these funny moments that we have for humanity. That being said, when it comes to sexuality, it really, and I'm speaking about the brighter, lighter stuff, we really need to embrace the path where those desires are actually very carnal and they're childlike. Like you're not dealing with an adult. So first of all, you need to be aware of that and understand that those are the pitfalls. Now, for some people, it's going to be the embracing of weapons. Here we talk about innovation in weapon and the embracing of that which is actually lethal. Because you think about children that play with soldiers, okay, these dummy soldiers and these dummy wars, and they enjoy this, game that gets the Mars out of it. Like it really gets the Mars in them active and playing, and through this play, hopefully learning about boundaries, learning to get along with people, which is the Libra aspect. Basically through a modeling of something, which is just what you do when you innovate. You have a model and you play, then you try something and you try again. And those qualities really need to be balanced out with Venus. People are going to have not only losses, because Venus, yes, it's also assets, but they're also going to have gains. They're going to be loss of certain assets. Okay, if you've been A while ago, I did this episode about the confiscation of certain investments in art that belong to oligarchs. So you couldn't sell and buy these art creations. And so a lot of money got confiscated basically by this restriction. So this is the kind of loss that we can expect with Venus. Yes. So a lot of it is not necessarily bad, but definitely wherever we think about the Libra house, we're going to have to let go of something there. But then the other axis that is Mars ruled, that is Aries, we're going to have a lot of gains as well. It's not just going to be about losses and volatile markets. It's also going to be about the blue ocean types of gains. So we're going to have new wealthy people, and we're going to have new wealth. There's definitely going to be new types of wealth. And within this type of wealth, you think about the novo rich versus old money. Okay. And when you talk about old money, you talk about people that have had money for generations, and they are very busy in making every purchase and every energy exchange count for the generations to maintain the wealth and to increase the wealth. And they are more conservative, whether it's also in style and fashion or what they say. Okay, I have no idea. But I knew, like when I think about academia, I knew a person that was of a family of having wealth for generations, sort of old money. And indeed, their shopping and expenditure, they would buy a dress a year if needed be. And it would always be this black classic dress, and it would have their fragrance and their jewels and their makeup style that is like their signature that stays fixed with the years. And she literally said to me, people talk about us like we're wealthy, and there's like we're wealthy because we're saving the money. We're wealthy because we don't spend much. Okay. Of course, there are a lot of parameters to that. And it's not about, she was just sharing her experiences. She was not being judgmental or anything like that. We're friends. But the thing is that when you have had wealth for generations, you were born into certain expenditure habits. You also the type of things that would make you buy a coffee at the Starbucks in your last money because you're homeless and can't wake yourself up, and this is your only point of joy in life. Like, no, there are other points of joy. Like, you've learned to enjoy other things than money spending. Okay, granted that you're coming from healthy wealth, although hardly anyone is at this time. It's very difficult. But then you have the new money. And the new money, you can tell them by the cars, the blinks, the houses that they usually later can't maintain, the aircraft, the yachts, and a lot of them are going to be the millionaire that sold this Ferrari, but you first had to have it. And that's when we talk about Rahu in Aries, we're talking about that wealth. I never spent my money on this. We never ate outside. Oh my God, I really need to try this. Okay. When Neptune is going to come to Aries, this is also going to include drug expenses on drugs and stuff, like, or drugs as weapons. This is so already happening. But the thing is that we're going to have new wealth and new people gaining wealth. we're going to have new opportunities. That being said, it's going to be with new money. So you're gonna be making a lot of money, but there also is booming desires that you haven't had the chance to have in maybe 18 years. And I try to think for myself, what did I spend my resources on 18 years ago? Oh, part of that was music. Okay, at first. Um, yeah, when I think about it, music, it's very interesting. It's have Mercury conjuncting Venus out of sign conjunction. So I had bought, eventually, I would buy an acoustic guitar because when I was a young girl, I wanted, it was very funny. I actually have to tell you this story. I have Chiron in Mercury in the fourth house, and that's Mercury's communication. And when I was a child, my mom would buy me anything. If I would set my eyes on something and it was within her means, she would buy it. So I never felt lack ever in childhood. But the thing is, I wanted a guitar, and I said a guitar. So I was thinking about an acoustic guitar, but she was thinking it was electric guitar. And she's very noise sensitive, or she loves music, but she can't stand the sound of electric guitar, and so she didn't buy me a guitar. Until eventually, it was only, I guess, 18 years later that I would say that I want an acoustic guitar. And she's like, oh, an acoustic is no problem. Today I buy you an acoustic guitar. Okay. But you think about this desire of the child that was kept there for 18 years, and no, and by nobody's fault. It's not like I had somebody that was not saving on, that was saving money on this. Like, no, not at all. It was just a miscommunication. And it's like 18 years later, like, oh, now I got what you were saying. Sure. Um, so you think about these, for some, it's going to be childlike desires depending on your age. But you think about the desires that you had 18 years ago. What did you want to do with your life 18 years ago? You're going to have a liberation of that. And with Rahu, it's going to be childlike, it's going to be dreamy, and you're going to be doing it. Like, you really are going to be doing it. So I wanted to give a bit of the high stuff, like the high part of Mars Rahu. Because we get to think about something from a different point of view, from a childlike curiosity into something. With Chiron transiting, that can be that we are, unless it's our Chiron return and you're like 50, that there is, there's wounding around this beginning, okay? Whether we address this now or not address this now, there's wounding around this new beginning. But it can also be a new beginning that heals a wound for you. Like, it can play out in many ways. But kind of like the optimistic part is that we are going to have new rich people. We are going to have new opportunities. We are going to have people that did not have the wealth before having the wealth. We might have an elite class of transgender people that is new. Okay, and if you think about, or LGBTQ, because of the presence of Aries in Aries, so to think about the LGBTQ not being able to get a job, or not being able to sustain themselves, and a lot of them being homeless, and simply because of who they are, which is very Nazi of society to do that. And you think about perhaps them being exposed to blue ocean venues and opportunities of investments. They can also be a bubble and bubbles burst. Okay. But the bubble burst, I'm more concerned about the passage of Neptune in Aries. It's ideation of war, ideation of the markets, ideation of new markets. Okay, you have to remember that a donation is an investment, and an investment is a donation, and yet there's something about Rahu in Aries which is like completely doing something new that is needed. Okay, when a baby is born, when you think about the sense of optimistic desire, when a baby is born into the world, it needs that. When you begin to settle into a new land, you need that. Even when you move a house, okay, or when you start a project or when you start a business, you know, it's highly unlikely to completely run smoothly. But you definitely need this surge of optimism and desire and say, I want that. Yeah, I have this calling to do that. Okay. And if I return a bit to the clickbait for this video, I have the Ganesha symbol with the swastika. And what I told you, you don't have to do it like that. Of course, that I will do it a bit more provocatively and risk being canceled, you know, because this is the spirit of that. This is the spirit of the times. Okay, it's taking a great risk, expressing yourself uncompromisingly. Ganesha is basically the remover of obstacles. Okay, and Ganesha with the swastika is basically reminding us that this is a sacred symbol. This is a sacred symbol of removing obstacles when you start something new. This is also the deity that you would pray to upon beginning something new, so that it would bless your new beginning. Even though right now the moon is decreasing, we are heading for the eclipses. So we're decreasing, we're removing. It's a good time to remove obstacles before beginning something new. Okay. And the word biodiversity. So for biodiversity, you actually need to start. Let's say you say, I want to grow up, I want to plant a forest. Then you got to know what to plant, where to plant it. There's some plants that are invasive and are going to get over your crops, and they affect the wildlife. You need to know your craft. But the desire and the I'm doing it, even if later you're going to have to replant, to have more work than you planned, and so on and so forth, that I'm doing it is very much in the spirit of Rahu Aries. And you know what I do? Like Aries is about turning the yet infertile, the virgin land fertile, okay? Fertilizing the virgin land. It's about the new settlement, planting a forest where none was before. And this is, it's a great joy. It's great joy. Creating life where none was before. Isn't it fascinating? Okay, that's great stuff to do with this. So we are going to be excessively desirous, and if we plant our seed, it's better be in a fertile soil or turning a soil fertile. And that's a good outlet for this drive. So Chiron here on the 18th degree kind of reminds us of the malefic wounding around Mars that can take how you do it in business, and try to hit on the other sex with this, and kind of like, oh, but then it can kind of rejuvenate the whole idea, because like, oh wait, that's how you do it in bed. And it's like, well, wouldn't it work nicely for business too, to identify opportunities by being drawn in, kind of sucked in to do it there, to do it that way. It's an interesting thing to inspect, to take a look at. But it's definitely a Mars that is impulsive, that can be overworked, that can be having difficulties with its potency or sustaining its potency, due to this Chiron there, due to applying certain things in certain places. Also, it's a great chance to rejuvenate the way we view Mars itself, the way we view the things that Mars rules. So we talked about, blood flow and circulation of blood. You think about biodiversity instead of um, you think about all these things that Mars rules, or the phallus, the penis, all these things that Mars rules, to view them in a new way, as well as to view weapon in a new way. Okay, if you found in a new settlement and there are crime organizations in your area, you definitely want to have an effective army, and you have an innovation in weapon that's going to upgrade you while you're doing something good for humanity. So these are thoughts on Mars. And again, I'm returning to you to the beginning of this episode when I told you stop the recording and grab a pen and paper and write something. And I'm returning you to your writings and to your desires, to how you did it, to who you did that with, and to reflect on what are you setting an intention to release and do next. Thank you for watching.